Welcome to our deep dive. Today, we're going to be tackling a topic that's probably on a lot of our minds. I know it's on mine, the future of Social Security.
Yeah, for sure.
Our focus today is an article from LKO Uni Exam, Debt In.
Okay.
It's titled, Social Security Could Disappear by 2033. Are You Financially Ready? Pretty, pretty stark title there.
Yeah, but kidding.
And this was published just last week, January 26th, 2025. So it's,
Very timely.
very timely, yeah.
Yeah, they don't mince words in this article
No, they don't.
about the potential challenges ahead.
Yeah, so 2033, that's
Yeah,
not that far off.
not far off at all.
So this is something we need to be thinking about now.
Exactly. And that's really what I liked about this article is it doesn't just point out the problems. It really tries to give people a roadmap for, what they can actually do
Yeah,
to prepare and plan for a future where Social Security might look very different.
right. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go beyond just understanding the problem. We're going to really try to give you some actionable steps.
That's the important part,
Yeah.
getting from awareness to action.
So one of the things that the article really highlights right at the beginning
Yeah.
is this potential for a 21% reduction in benefits.
Yeah. 21% average cut of $13,100 per year
Oh, wow.
for retirees.
So think about that for a second. You're planning that dream retirement trip,
Right.
and suddenly, your income just can't support it.
Yeah.
So this is the reality we need to be preparing for.
It really underscores why we need to understand what's happening here.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, they have a pretty good understanding of the basics of Social Security.
Yeah.
It's funded through payroll taxes.
Right.
But I think what people really need are insights into the why.
The why behind this.
Yeah, like why is this happening now?
Right. Why is this system, that's been a bedrock
Right.
for so long
Right.
now facing this kind of shortfall?
Well, it's a number of things, really. It's kind of a confluence of factors. We have, an aging population. We have people living longer.
Right.
We have declining birth rates. So that
Mm.
means fewer workers contributing to the system and more people drawing benefits.
Right.
But it's not just demographics.
Right.
You also have things like stagnant wage growth. So that affects how much people are contributing.
Yeah.
And then you have inflation, which eats away at both, the value of the benefit.
And the purchasing power. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then you add on top of all of that the political gridlock,
Right.
which makes it incredibly difficult to find solutions, even when, generally everybody agrees there's a problem.
Right. Yeah. So it really does feel like a perfect storm
It does.
kind of brewing out there. But the thing I like about this article is they don't stop there.
No.
They go from the problem to, okay, so what are we going to do about it?
Right.
And that's where things get interesting for me.
Well, that's the good news, right? Is
Yeah.
that even with all of this uncertainty, there are concrete steps that you can take
Right.
to mitigate the potential impact of reduced benefits.
So let's talk about those steps. One of the big ones that they highlight is boosting your own savings.
Of course.
So, things like 401k, IRAs, these are tools we're familiar with, but maybe we don't always, grasp their full importance.
Yeah, and I think
So is simply contributing enough, or are there like specific approaches that are, maybe particularly effective in this context?
Well, I think contributing consistently is like the foundation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But there's more to it than just setting aside money. For example, they talk a lot about the power of compounding
Right.
in the article. So if you're contributing, say, $500 a month to a 401k,
Okay.
and you're getting, let's say, a 7% average return over 30 years, that could turn into over $600,000.
Wow.
And a 7% return historically is pretty achievable.
Right. But is that kind of return realistic for everybody?
Well, and that's a good question. And also,
Or are there caveats we should be thinking about there?
yeah, exactly. And what about people who are closer to retirement?
Right.
They may not have 30 years to benefit from compounding.
Yeah. Are there different approaches they should be taking?
Exactly. Well, that's
Mhm.
where diversification comes in.
Yeah.
For someone who's maybe closer to retirement,
Okay.
it's not so much about, trying to get those high returns.
Right.
It's more about, balancing growth with preservation.
Right.
So maybe instead of, putting all your money in stocks, you might look at a mix of stocks and bonds.
Okay.
And maybe even some more stable assets like annuities.
So diversification, I always think of that as like the, don't put all your eggs in one basket
Exactly.
advice. But honestly, it can feel kind of overwhelming.
It can.
There's just so many investment options out there.
Right.
How do people even know where to begin?
Well, the article gives some good starting points. They talk about looking at different asset classes,
Okay.
like real estate,
Mm-hmm.
precious metals,
Mm.
even some alternative investments.
Right.
But I think the key is, you really have to understand your own risk tolerance,
Okay.
your time horizon,
Right.
your financial goals. And that's where it can be really helpful
Yeah.
to talk to a financial advisor.
Right. So it's not a one-size-fits-all
No, not at all.
approach at
Everybody's situation is different.
Right. And that's probably where, having someone who can kind of help you navigate
Exactly.
those choices.
Give you some personalized guidance.
Yeah, create a plan that's tailored to you.
Yeah, and that can adjust as you get closer to retirement. Maybe you start out a little more aggressive
Right.
with your investments, and then as you get closer, you shift to something more conservative.
Okay. So it's like having a financial co-pilot to help you
No, like that, yeah.
navigate all this.
Yeah.
So another thing the article talks about that I think is really interesting is this idea of delaying Social Security benefits.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
So can you talk a little bit about why that's so impactful?
Well, every year that you delay taking your benefits past your full retirement age,
Okay.
your benefits go up by about 8%
Wow.
until you reach age 70.
Okay.
So let's say, your benefit at full retirement age is $2,000 a month.
Right.
If you wait until age 70,
Okay.
that could be $2,480 a month.
That's a pretty compelling incentive to wait.
It is.
But I'm wondering, what about people who maybe can't afford to wait?
Right.
Maybe they have health issues.
Yeah.
Or, something comes up where they need that income sooner.
Right.
Is there any flexibility there, or is it just kind of like tough luck?
Well, no, they do acknowledge in the article that it's not feasible for everyone
Okay.
to delay.
Okay.
Some people may need to claim those benefits earlier.
Yeah.
I think the key is you really have to weigh the pros and cons
Yeah.
based on your own situation.
And probably talk to a financial advisor.
Yeah. Definitely get some guidance.
To figure out what's the best course of action for you.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about debt, because that's something that, I think a lot of people
Oh, yeah.
are dealing with,
It's a big one.
especially as they get closer to retirement. How does that fit into this whole picture?
Yeah. Debt can really be a drag on your retirement income,
Right.
especially high interest debt.
Yeah.
It just eats away at your cash flow.
So the article's really emphasizing, tackling that head on.
Yeah. Get rid of it as much as you can.
So that might mean, paying down those credit cards,
Yeah.
maybe consolidating loans,
Right.
maybe even, downsizing your home to get rid of that mortgage payment.
Yeah. Whatever you can do to free up some cash flow.
So it's really about, creating breathing room
Exactly.
in your budget.
Especially if you're facing a potential reduction
Especially
in your Social Security income.
Right, yeah.
Oh.
So it's like you're clearing the runway
I like that.
for a smoother takeoff into retirement.
Yeah. Less baggage.
Yeah, exactly.
Better.
But let's be realistic. Some people are getting close to retirement and they realize maybe they haven't saved as much as they'd hoped.
It happens.
So are there things they can still do,
Yeah.
to boost their income even at this stage?
Absolutely.
Ah,
One thing that the article mentions is exploring alternative income streams.
okay.
So that could be, part-time work,
Uh-huh.
freelance gigs,
Yeah.
even turning a hobby into a side hustle.
Right. And this is where I think things get kind of exciting,
Yeah.
Like, what are your skills and passions
Right.
that you could potentially monetize?
Yeah.
Maybe you're great at crafting.
Yeah.
Maybe you love to write.
Huh?
Maybe you have years of experience in a particular field
Right.
that you could consult on.
Exactly.
I mean, there's so many possibilities out there.
Especially now with the internet.
Especially now, yeah.
There's just so many avenues
Yeah.
for generating income.
So it's really about being resourceful and kind of tapping into
Yeah.
those unique talents and experiences.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, it can also give you a sense of purpose
Yeah.
in retirement.
Absolutely. And fulfillment, beyond
Sure.
just the financial gain.
Yeah.
So welcome back to our deep dive into the future of Social Security. We've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about the challenges and the steps you can take. But I feel like there's one big piece we haven't really gotten into yet.
Yeah, you're right. We've talked a lot about what individuals can do.
Right.
But there's also this whole other layer of, potential changes
Right.
at the legislative level.
That's what I was thinking. It's one thing to kind of get your own financial ducks in a row.
Right.
But what if the rules of the game change?
Exactly.
It's like training for a marathon and then finding out it's suddenly an obstacle course.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
So how do we deal with that, because it feels like,
Well, that's where it becomes really important to stay informed.
okay.
The article really emphasizes that this is not a static system.
Yeah.
Congress is constantly debating potential reforms,
Right.
and those debates could have a huge impact on beneficiaries.
So it's not like a set it and forget it situation.
No, you got to stay engaged.
Right.
You got to be ready to adapt as needed.
Yeah. But how do you even keep up with all of that?
Yeah.
It's like drinking from a fire hose.
Well, it can be overwhelming,
Right.
but the article does give some good tips.
Okay.
They recommend starting with, the Social Security Administration website.
Okay.
They have tons of information, everything from benefit calculators to, explanations of different claiming strategies.
Yeah, right.
And they also post updates on any, legislative developments
Okay.
that could affect beneficiaries.
So bookmark that website, folks.
Yeah, that's a good starting point.
What about other resources, though? Are there, organizations or publications
Oh, yeah,
that
absolutely.
people can turn to?
AARP is a great resource for older Americans.
Yeah.
They've got a ton of information,
Right.
specifically on retirement planning and Social Security.
And don't forget your local library.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Well, a lot of libraries offer free financial literacy workshops.
Yeah.
And they usually have a good selection of books and resources
Oh, absolutely.
on personal finance.
Yeah, good old-fashioned books.
Yeah. And of course, there's, the whole world of online resources, podcasts, blogs, websites.
Oh, yeah. That's exploding.
But how do you even know what to trust?
Right. Yeah, that's the tricky part.
It's like a minefield out there.
It is. You really got to be careful.
What are some tips for people?
Well, I think the key is to look for sources that are unbiased,
Okay.
fact-based, backed by, reputable organizations or experts.
Right. So do your homework.
Do your homework, and, if you're ever unsure,
Yeah.
talk to a financial advisor.
Yeah. Get some professional guidance.
They can help you sort through all the noise
Right.
and come up with a plan that's right for you.
So we've talked about the individual actions. We've talked about the legislative landscape, the importance of staying informed. But let's bring it all back to our listeners. Why should they care about all of this?
Well, I think the main takeaway is that
Yeah.
Social Security is a vital program, but its future is very uncertain.
Yeah.
And by understanding the challenges
Right.
and taking proactive steps today,
Yeah.
you can really have a big impact on your financial security
Right.
in retirement, regardless of what happens with legislation.
It's about taking ownership,
Yeah,
not just sitting back and waiting
exactly.
to see what happens.
Be proactive.
And I think that's what this article does so well.
Yeah.
It doesn't just, lay out the problem. It
Right.
gives you the tools.
It empowers you.
Yeah, to actually take control.
Exactly.
So well said. As we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with a final thought-provoking question. If Social Security were to drastically change,
Okay.
what would you need to adjust in your own financial plan? What steps would you take to ensure a comfortable and secure retirement?
That's a good question for everybody to think about.
Yeah, so think about it, talk about it with your family, with your loved ones, and most importantly, take action.
Yeah, don't just sit there, do something.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.